A groom plans the ultimate public revenge on his ex during his wedding, only for her shocking return to expose a truth that flips his entire life in seconds. The golden light of the morning sun poured gently through the tall glass windows, wrapping the grand wedding hall in a soft, glowing warmth. Crystal chandeliers shimmered above, reflecting elegance in every corner. White roses lined the aisle, their delicate fragrance floating through the air as soft music played in the background. Everything looked perfect, almost too perfect. Guests filled the hall, dressed in their finest attire, smiling, laughing, whispering about how beautiful the couple looked. Cameras flashed, laughter echoed. It was the kind of wedding people dreamed of. At the center of it all stood the groom, tall, composed, dressed in a flawless suit. He looked like the perfect man ready to begin a perfect life. But if someone looked closely, really closely, they would notice something strange. His smile didn't reach his eyes. His gaze felt distant, almost cold, as if he was standing there physically, but emotionally, somewhere else entirely. Beside him, the bride radiated happiness. Her eyes sparkled with love and excitement, her hands trembling slightly as she held her bouquet. She believed in this moment with her whole heart. To her, this was the beginning of forever. But to him, it was something else. This isn't love. This is justice. His jaw tightened ever so slightly as his eyes scanned the crowd. Every detail of this wedding had been carefully planned, every second controlled. But not for the reasons anyone imagined. A soft breeze from the open doors brushed against his face, and for a brief moment, his expression flickered. A memory tried to break through. A different day, a different smile, a different woman, laughter that once felt real, promises that once felt unbreakable. And then, silence, pain, abandonment. The music in the hall grew louder, pulling him back to the present. Applause erupted as the ceremony began to take shape. The officiant spoke warmly, guests listened with admiration, and everything moved exactly as expected. But inside him, something darker was quietly unfolding. He glanced again toward the entrance of the hall, just for a second, almost as if he was waiting for someone, waiting for the moment everything would change. Because this wedding was not just a celebration. It was a stage, a carefully crafted moment where the past would collide with the present in the most unexpected way. And no one in that room was ready for what was about to happen. A soft smile returned to his face as he looked at the bride, but it felt practiced, controlled, almost like a mask. Could a day so beautiful really be hiding something so cruel? The music swelled, the guests leaned in, and the ceremony continued. Unaware that beneath the surface of love and elegance, a storm was silently building. And when it arrived, it would change everything. The music of the wedding slowly fades into the background, and the past begins to whisper. There was a time when his smile was real. A small cafe, warm lights, and quiet laughter. This is where their story began. She sat across from him, her eyes full of life, her voice soft but full of meaning. Back then, love felt simple, felt safe. He remembered the way she used to look at him, like he was enough. Days turned into months and months into years. They built dreams together. Late-night talks about the future, promises of forever, and plans that felt unbreakable. He gave her everything, his trust, his heart, his belief in love. She was my home, my everything. But love can change. The memories begin to darken. The laughter faded first. Then came the silence. Small arguments turned into long, painful nights. Words that once comforted began to hurt. He didn't understand what was happening, but he felt it. Something was slipping away. And then came the day that broke him. Rain poured heavily outside as he stood in front of her. Desperate, confused, trying to hold on to what was left. His voice trembled as he asked her to stay. Just stay. But her eyes no longer held warmth. They held distance. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She simply walked away. Just like that. No fight. No explanation that made sense. No looking back. He stood there alone, the sound of the rain louder than his own heartbeat. Everything they had built, gone in a moment. How does someone walk away so easily from a love that once meant everything? That question stayed with him. Days turned into sleepless nights. He replayed every memory, every word, every moment, searching for answers. But the silence she left behind was louder than anything. Pain slowly turned into something else, something colder. He stopped believing in love. He stopped believing in people. The man who once gave his heart so freely began to build walls around it. Strong, unbreakable walls. And behind those walls, something dangerous was growing. Not just sadness, not just anger, but a quiet, burning desire for revenge. If she could break him without looking back, then one day he would make sure she felt the same. That was the moment everything changed. The loving man disappeared, and in his place stood someone new. Someone patient, someone calculating, someone who would wait for the perfect moment to turn pain into power. And now, that moment was closer than ever. Time moved forward, but his heart did not. After the heartbreak, he learned how to smile again. Not because he felt happiness, but because he learned how to hide the truth. The world saw a man who had healed, who had moved on, who was ready to love again. And then, she entered his life. The new bride. She was everything his past was not: gentle, kind, full of hope. Her laughter was soft, her intentions pure. She believed in love the way he once did, without fear, without doubt. When she looked at him, her eyes carried trust, the kind of trust that is rare and fragile. Their first meeting felt simple, a casual conversation, a shared smile, a moment that slowly grew into something more. She opened her heart to him without hesitation, unaware of the shadows he carried within. To her, he was safe. To him, she was part of a plan. She doesn't know, none of them know. Days turned into weeks, and their connection deepened. He said all the right words. He showed up at the right moments. He became everything she needed: strong, caring, dependable. And slowly, she fell in love. But behind every smile he gave her, there was calculation. Behind every promise, there was a purpose. He wasn't building a future. He was setting a stage where everything would come together: his past, his pain, and the person who caused it all. The proposal came like a dream. A beautiful setting, heartfelt words, a ring that sparkled under soft lights. She said yes with tears in her eyes, overwhelmed with joy. The people around them celebrated. But deep inside, his heart remained still. There was no excitement, no nervous happiness, only patience, carefully waiting for the right moment. As the wedding preparations began, everything seemed perfect. Dresses were chosen, venues were decorated, invitations were sent out. Friends and family admired their love story, calling it beautiful, inspiring, meant to be. But was it really love? Or just an illusion carefully designed to hide something darker? Sometimes he would look at her when she wasn't noticing, watch her smile, listen to her dreams, see the way she trusted him completely. For a brief second, something inside him would hesitate, a quiet voice asking, "Is this right?" But then, the past would return. That rainy day, that silent goodbye. And just like that, the hesitation disappeared. His focus returned. This wedding was never about starting a new life. It was about ending an old story, in a way no one would forget. And as the big day came closer, his plan became clearer. Everything was in place. All that was left was the moment. The music rises again. Soft, elegant, almost magical. The wedding ceremony has begun. Guests sit quietly, their eyes fixed on the aisle as the bride walks forward, khutwatan bakadem, her white dress flowing like a dream. Every khutwa feels like a promise, every heartbeat filled with hope. The room glows with admiration, and whispers of perfect couple move gently through the crowd. At the altar, he stands still, calm, composed, watching, but not just watching her, watching everything, every movement, every face, every second ticking closer to the moment he had been waiting for. It's almost time. The bride reaches him, her eyes shining with emotion. She smiles soft, pure, full of love. When he takes her hand, she feels warmth. But what she doesn't feel is the distance hidden behind it. The officiant begins to speak, words about love, trust, and forever echoing through the hall. Guests listen with full hearts, some even wiping away quiet tears. Everything is perfect, exactly as it should be, and exactly as he planned. In the corner of the hall, a large screen is set up, meant for memories, as the guests were told. A beautiful display of their journey together. Photos, videos, moments of happiness. Or at least, that's what everyone believes. His eyes shift toward it for just a second. A small, almost invisible signal is given to someone near the control panel. A nod, a silent command. Everything is in motion now. But then, his gaze moves again, toward the entrance. A subtle flicker of anticipation crosses his face. Because there is one person who hasn't arrived yet. One person who was never supposed to be here, but was invited.
Anyway, his ex. The reason behind everything. The reason this entire day exists. A quiet tension begins to build inside him. Not fear, but something close to it. The kind of feeling that comes when a plan is about to become real. What if she doesn't come? For a brief moment, doubt touches his mind. But then, the doors at the back of the hall move slightly. His breath pauses. Someone has arrived. The guests are too focused on the ceremony to notice. The bride remains lost in her moment. The officiant continues speaking, unaware of the silent shift in the air, but he notices. His fingers tighten slightly around the bride's hand. His heartbeat grows louder. Everything he has been waiting for is finally aligning. The past and the present about to collide. And still, no one knows. No one sees the storm forming beneath the beauty of this moment. The screen flickers softly, almost as if preparing to come alive. The music continues, the smiles remain. But something is about to break, and when it does, it won't be quiet. The doors at the back of the hall open, slowly. At first, no one notices. The music continues, the officiant speaks gently, and the bride stands lost in a moment she has dreamed of her entire life. But then, a subtle shift moves through the room, a whisper, a glance. Heads begin to turn, one by one, and then, silence. She steps inside, confident, calm, unshaken. The ex. Her presence is not loud, yet it fills the entire space. Her khutawat are steady, her expression unreadable. She is not dressed to impress, not trying to steal attention, yet somehow all eyes are drawn to her. The air changes, guests exchange confused looks. Some recognize her, some don't. But everyone feels it. Something is wrong. At the altar, his breath catches. For a moment, just a moment, the mask slips. His eyes lock onto hers and time seems to freeze. She came. Every memory, every emotion he buried so deeply rises to the surface in a single thaniat. The pain, the anger, the unanswered questions, but also something else, something he didn't expect. She doesn't look broken, she doesn't look guilty, she looks strong. The bride notices the shift. Her smile fades slightly as she follows his gaze. Confusion clouds her eyes as she sees the woman standing there, calm in the middle of growing tension. Who is she? The question hangs unspoken, yet heavy. The guests fall completely silent now. Even the music seems to fade into nothing. The entire hall holds its breath, waiting for something, anything, to happen. He straightens his posture. The shock in his eyes slowly hardens into something familiar. Determination. This is the moment he planned, the moment he waited for. Everything is exactly as it should be. Or is it? He studies her face again, searching for cracks, for regret, for weakness, for anything that would make this easier. But there is none. She meets his gaze without fear, without hesitation, without apology. How can she stand there so calmly after everything? A flicker of doubt tries to rise inside him, but he pushes it down instantly. No, he has come too far. The screen behind him flickers again, ready. The truth, his version of it, is seconds away from being revealed to everyone. His fingers tighten once more, his jaw sets, and his voice almost rises, ready to begin what he started. But something feels different, something in the way she looks at him, not with anger, not with love, but with a quiet certainty, as if she knows something he doesn't, and for the first time, he feels unprepared. The room stands frozen between past and present, truth and illusion, love and revenge. One move, one word, and everything will change. The silence in the hall becomes almost unbearable. Every eye is on her. She takes a slow step forward, then another, her gaze never leaving his. The soft echo of her footsteps feels louder than any music that once filled the room. At the altar, his plan stands ready. Just one signal, one word, and everything he prepared would unfold. But she speaks first. "Before you do anything," her voice is calm, steady, yet filled with something deeper. "You deserve to know the truth." A ripple of confusion spreads through the guests. The bride looks between them, her pulse racing, her hands trembling slightly. This is no longer a wedding. It is something else entirely. He exhales sharply, his expression hard. "Truth?" he repeats, almost coldly. "Now you want to talk about truth." But she doesn't react to his tone. Instead, she reaches into her bag and pulls out a small envelope. Simple, unremarkable. Yet the weight of it feels heavy in the air. What is she doing? She holds it out toward him, her hand steady. "You never asked why I left," she says softly. "You only believed what it looked like." His jaw tightens, but something inside him hesitates. Slowly, he takes the envelope. The room watches in complete silence. He opens it. Inside, medical reports, dates, signatures, words that blur together at first, until one line becomes clear: a serious illness, a diagnosis from the past. His breath catches. This is a lie," he says, but his voice is no longer strong. She shakes her head gently. "It was real," she says. "And it was getting worse." Her eyes soften, not with weakness, but with truth. "I knew if I stayed, you would never leave me. You would give up your dreams, your future, everything. And I couldn't let that happen." The words hit him harder than anything he had prepared for. The hall feels smaller now, tighter, like the walls are closing in. "You think I wanted to walk away?" Her voice trembles slightly for the first time. "You think that was easy for me?" Tears gather in her eyes, but she doesn't let them fall. "I left because I loved you, not because I didn't." The silence breaks, not with noise, but with emotion. His hands begin to shake, the papers slipping slightly between his fingers. Every memory he held on to, every version of the story he repeated in his mind, starts to fall apart. The rain that day, her silence, her leaving. It wasn't betrayal, it was sacrifice. How could he have been so wrong? His plan, the revenge, the anger he carried for so long, it all suddenly feels meaningless. The screen behind him flickers again, ready to expose her. But now, it feels like it would only expose him. He looks at her again, truly looks this time, and for the first time since she walked away, he sees her pain. "I was going to come back," she whispers, "when I got better, when I knew you'd be okay, but you moved on." The final words settle into his pulp like a quiet storm. Everything he built this day on is collapsing in seconds, and he stands there, no longer in control, no longer certain, only human. The hall feels heavy, as if every breath has become difficult. No one moves, no one speaks. The truth still hangs in the air, fragile yet powerful, and at the center of it all, He stands frozen. The papers in his hands tremble slightly. His eyes move from the words to her, and then slowly toward the woman beside him, his bride. Her smile is gone. In its place, confusion, pain, and a quiet heartbreak that grows deeper with every passing second. She searches his face for answers, for reassurance, for something to hold on to, but he has nothing left to give. What have I done? The question echoes inside him, louder than anything around him. Everything he believed in, everything he built his anger upon, was wrong. And now, standing here in front of everyone, he is no longer the one in control. He is the one exposed. The guests begin to whisper softly, the silence breaking into scattered confusion. Some look at him with shock, others with judgment. The perfect wedding is falling apart in real time. The screen behind him flickers again, still waiting, still ready to play the humiliation he had planned. But now it feels like a weapon pointed at his own heart. He looks back at his ex. Her eyes hold no anger, only truth. And then he looks at his bride again. Her tears finally fall. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, painful, real. In that moment, the weight of everything crashes down on him. The love he once had, the pain he carried, the revenge he planned, and the innocent heart he pulled into it. How do you choose between the past that shaped you and the present you are about to destroy? His chest tightens as he takes a slow step back. The distance between him and the altar feels larger than it should, as if he's stepping away from a version of himself he no longer recognizes. The officiant remains silent. The guests wait. The entire room is holding its breath for one decision, one action, one truth. His hands slowly lower, the papers slipping to his side. His eyes close for just a second, trying to escape the moment. But there is no escape, only choice. When he opens them again, something has changed. The anger is gone, the certainty is gone. All that remains is the weight of truth, and the realization that whatever he does next will define not just this moment, but the rest of his life. The perfect plan is broken. Now, only honesty remains. The silence stretches, long, heavy, and unforgiving. Every eye in the room is fixed on him, waiting, judging, hoping. He stands at the altar, caught between two worlds, the past that broke him, and the present he is about to break. Slowly, he lifts his gaze, first toward his ex, then toward the woman standing beside him in a white dress, her heart quietly shattering, his bride. A deep breath fills his chest, but it doesn't bring strength, only clarity. This ends now. No more lies. He takes a small step forward, his voice finally breaking the silence. I was wrong. The words are simple, but they hit harder than anything else. A wave of murmurs moves through the guests, but he doesn't stop.
I planned this day, not for love, but for revenge. His voice trembles slightly, but he continues. And in doing that, I hurt someone who did nothing but love me honestly. His eyes turn to his bride. Tears stream down her face, but she doesn't look away. I'm sorry, he says softly. You deserved truth, not this. The room feels still again. Then, with a slow, deliberate movement, he reaches for her hand. But this time, it's not to hold on, it's to let go. Gently, carefully, he releases it. A quiet gasp moves through the hall. The moment becomes real. The wedding is over, but this is not chaos. This is something deeper, something honest. He turns slightly, facing everyone now, not as a groom, not as a man in control, but simply as someone who finally understands his own mistakes. The truth came too late, he says, his voice softer now, but it still came. His eyes shift one last time, toward his ex. There are no dramatic words between them, no promises, no sudden reunion, just understanding and closure, because some love stories are not meant to continue, only to be understood. He steps away from the altar, leaving behind the perfect setup, the grand decorations, the illusion of a perfect ending. Instead, he chooses truth, even if it costs him everything. The bride stands still, her tears falling quietly, but within them, there is something else, strength, because even in heartbreak, she was real, and that is something no lie can take away. As he walks past the guests, the room slowly comes back to life, but nothing feels the same anymore. The moment has passed, but its impact will stay long after, because sometimes the most unexpected decision is not about choosing someone else. It's about choosing to be honest. Finally, is losing everything the only way to truly find yourself? The doors close behind him, and the story ends not with revenge, but with truth. Moral, in the end, truth may break everything, but it also sets the heart free.